Hello Aries, welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. This is your weekly tarot forecast. Please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. And that way you won't miss any of the weekly tarot forecasts that we do for your sign. All right, so let's get into it. What is the message coming through for Aries? What is it that you need to know? What is the energy for Aries for this coming week? Let's find out. First card today is a 3 of discs. All right, this is a pretty good way to start, I would say, but let's lay out the rest of our Dove and Serpent spread. And that is going to include this mystery card, confirmation card, bonus card, whatever you want to call it. We're going to put this right over here. We're not going to reveal that until the very end, so stick around. And hopefully that will, tie the reading together or give us that confirmation that we're looking for at the very end, okay? So we're looking at some of these cards here. I'm just kind of straightening them out a little bit. It looks like this might have a little something to do with your work or your career or your financial success, right? We started out with this 3 of discs, and this is really telling me that there is a lot of commitment required of you in your place of employment, in your career, in the work that you do, right? I think you're involved in something that really is utilizing all of your skills, for one thing, all of your talents. I think that it is an industry or a career or an employment situation that really is demanding a lot of you mentally, emotionally, and physically, right? So there's the 3 layers of your being, and I think they're all involved here in trying to really turn this thing into a success. Now, I don't know if this is your own business, if you're hooked up with a company or with another group of associates, but some of the work that you do, right? The way that you're earning your income or what you're really trying to establish is the primary focus today. And again, it is something that is really requiring all of your faculties, all of your commitment, blood, sweat, and tears, right? The physical, emotional, and the mental aspects of your being are focused on this, right? Focused on this effort, on this work. And now we see that what is going to be asked of you this week is represented by this Knight of Wands. And I think this represents you. I think this represents your kind of renewed activity in this situation, okay? And I say renewed for a specific reason. It's because some of these other cards that we see here may be indicating that things haven't quite been as successful as you were hoping, that there may be an indication that you're starting to lose a little bit of hope here, a little bit of optimism. Things are slowing down a little bit. And I think the message here with this Knight of Wands is you have to redouble your efforts. You have to really summon all of the strength and energy and concentration and just excitement, enthusiasm. All of this fiery energy, I think, needs to be summoned this week and redouble your efforts. If you're putting in 100%, put in 200% this week. Okay? Because if the situation really is slowing down or it had a bit of a dip, a bit of a slowdown, I can see how that might slow you down a little bit in turn, right? It might give you a little bit of a loss of hope, a little bit of pessimism, right? Just a little bit of grief over the situation, that it's not accelerating as fast as you would like. It's not growing to the degree that you would like right now. Okay, and the reason why I say that, a couple of reasons. First one is this 2 of discs. This is in the recent past. This is kind of the, this is kind of the reason why you're here today, right? It's kind of maybe what has been on your mind, what the issues have been that have kind of led you to look for a tarot reading today, okay? And with the 2 of discs, I think that this is kind of that downturn in your financial situation, this work, employment, career situation that we're talking about, okay? I think recently there was something, either you took a loss, you took a hit, things slowed down, there was some sort of change. Maybe things were, they had a certain trajectory and then they kind of leveled off a little bit, or they're taking a bit of a dip. And that is not really a cause for concern or a cause for worry yet. Okay, but I can see that it might be approaching that stage where you're starting to get a little bit nervous about what's going on, because there's just that hint of a slowdown, that hint of a downturn, or just that your success, the path is kind of leveling off a little bit, right? So that was a recent thing where there was a little bit of a shift. And I think this is giving you just a little bit of grief, a little bit of hesitation, a little bit of that kind of oh shit feeling, right? And another indication of that, and I was going to maybe get to this after, but I guess we'll go to this right now, and this is the Eight of Swords. This is at the top of the spread on the path of the dove. This is kind of the entire reading in a nutshell. This is kind of telling me what the main focus, what the main issue really is with you this week. And I think that this is that self-doubt starting to creep in, right? Because there's been this bit of a shift, nothing major, nothing serious yet, but things have changed a little bit. You're expecting a certain amount of success or a certain degree of growth, certain rate of growth, but it hasn't quite worked out that way. Something has changed. And now there's this doubt, there's this this mental energy that's coming in here, that's this negative thinking. It is the self-doubt. It's a little bit of a loss of confidence in yourself, a little bit of self-esteem that's being blocked, a little bit of your confidence that is being kind of shut down by these swords, right? It's a lot of mental activity, a lot of second guessing, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of negative thoughts going on, right? And these are starting to creep into this situation. You're starting to maybe ask yourself, God, was this the right decision? Am I on the right path? Am I with the right people or the right company? Am I in the right field for my career? So there's a lot of self-doubt. And I think this is the main issue this week, is getting over this negative thinking, right? Because there's been a little bit of a downturn, a little bit of shift in the way things were progressing. Now suddenly you're having these thoughts like, I need to abandon this whole project. I mean, it could go to these extremes, right? Where you're just completely rethinking your plans. And I think it's a little too early to indulge too much in these thoughts, okay? I don't think there's any sign yet that things are so bad that you really need to change plans, shift gears, or completely pivot, right? But I can see that your mind has a tendency to go to these places, and this self-doubt is starting to creep in. This second guessing is starting to show up. Now with the Eight of Swords, it's a lot of being locked into our own thought patterns. It's a lot of kind of getting in our own way or sabotaging our own progress, right? So this could be a very minor, very temporary setback that you're experiencing. But your mind tends to make a mountain out of that molehill, right? It kind of exaggerates the reality of it. It overestimates the outcome, the severity of the outcome, the severity of, the future, the next maybe couple of weeks, the next month or two. You're starting to kind of predict some real negativity in the future that I don't think is warranted yet. Do you know what I mean? So I think again that this is the reading in a nutshell, right? That there were some momentary setbacks, some temporary changes that you shouldn't overestimate. You shouldn't really worry about them too much, okay? Now you need to do what's necessary. You need to, like we said with this Knight of Wands, you need to double your efforts, right? You need to re-energize, you need to re-up your efforts. And this Knight of Wands is really saying that, now's not the time to be stuck here, maybe with this self-pity, with this self-doubt, with this very restrictive thinking, kind of locking yourself into this mental prison that is preventing a lot of action, preventing clear thinking as well. And that's why I think we see this Knight of Wands. And this is just to say, look, it's a time for action. It's a time for just confidence and enthusiasm and power and energy, right? It's not a time to kind of withdraw and overthink, overanalyze. Because I think you're beginning in your own way. I think you'll be creating this kind of mental prison that's going to be more difficult to get out of the longer you stay in there. So it could also be that you're seeing these changes, whatever these events are that are taking place. I think maybe you're seeing them as an impossible situation. You're starting to think of that situation, those events, whatever that was, whatever this change, this setback, this downturn is. You are tending to think about that as an impossible situation, as something that is just not winnable, not solvable, you can't get out of it. And you're just repeating that kind of thinking, and it's just reinforcing itself, and it just becomes a vicious cycle, right? And the Wands here, the Knight, is saying you need to bust out of that thinking. You need to just take action, do what needs to be done for the situation to get through it. Don't overthink it. Don't get too, emotionally weighed down by the prospect of the failure or of the negative outcome that could be, right? But I think it's too early to tell. And I think if you want to secure the best possible outcome, which we're going to get to the possible outcome here in a second, if you want to reach that best possible outcome, you need to take action now and get out of this habit of overthinking, overanalyzing, right? Your mind is getting in your own way this week. So you need to kind of just bypass that and use this energy, use this force, this power, this activity to do what needs to be done without overthinking it. And what that leads to is wonderful. Two of Cups. This is all love, all harmony, all beauty, baby. This is the best outcome possible. So I think we're going from this Two of Discs, or Pentacles, which is the upset, the uncertainty, something's shifting, something's changed, right? There's a little bit, now it's a little bit of worry, a little bit of panic kind of creeping in. Something is different. Something has changed. But through your commitment and through your efforts, through your activity and your work, your hard work, you're going to reach this Two of Cups, which is harmony, love, beauty, joy, satisfaction, pleasure. It's going to be any anxiety, any worries, any upset is going to just be smoothed out. You can relax, you can feel good, right? But this is in the future. This is a potential outcome, provided that you, one, escape this Eight of Swords, and you kind of double your efforts, reaffirm your commitment, put everything you have into solving this, into protecting yourself against whatever the potential danger is here with the Two of Discs. And you can reach this Two of Cups, okay, which is the best possible outcome. Everything gets back on track. Everything is, better than it was before. And now, what we see at the bottom of the spread here, the bottom of the path of the dove, is this Eight of Wands. Now, it's interesting that we see this kind of symmetry here. We see the Two of Discs and the Two of Cups, right? Kind of the past and the future. And then we see the Eight of Swords and the Eight of Wands here on the vertical axis, right? So the above and the below, the kind of what is the kind of umbrella energy, and then what is the subtle energy coming from underneath, right? The vertical, the top and the bottom. So what is underneath all of this is this Eight of Wands. Now this is a sense of an accelerated timeline, all right? And I think this is part of why, because obviously these two are connected, right? Eight of Swords, Eight of Wands. The Eight of Swords is your kind of chaotic thinking, this self-doubt, this cycle of negative thinking, and this loss of confidence, and just being locked into the prison of our own mind, right? Thinking things are just more terrible than they really are. And I think the reason why we have that is because we also have this tendency to expect things to happen immediately, right? So you're thinking of this change as something that is happening right now, today, and it is a reflection of the overall energy of this, that this change, this negative event, this obstacle or roadblock is kind of going to be a permanent thing, right? You expect it to go from 0 to 60 in no time at all, right? But you didn't really anticipate that there were going to be some roadblocks, some speed bumps along the way. Do you know what I mean? So it's like one of the reasons why we have this anxiety, one of the reasons why we have this Eight of Swords, this negative thinking, this confused thinking, this feeling trapped in this situation now, is because the success didn't come as fast as you were expecting, right? So you wanted to go, like I said, from 0 to 60 instantaneously. And because that didn't happen, you think now you're never going to get to that goal, right? Because you were expecting that kind of rush of success. And so underneath everything today is this sense of urgency, this sense of if it doesn't happen right away, then it's never going to happen, right? So there's no concept of delay or some speed bumps, obstacles, some roadblocks, some things that you have to get past and overcome, and some minor setbacks that may happen. But overall, you're still headed in the right direction, right? But when we have this kind of thinking, when we have all of this 8 energy, this is a lot of the mind just kind of circling back on itself, right? The more you think about these negative outcomes or these negative events or the situation, the more it reinforces this idea that, wow, if it's, I'm not successful right now, then I never will be. If it doesn't happen right now, then it's not going to happen. And that is just like the figure 8. It just keeps looping back in on itself, right? And so it keeps you kind of stuck in this mode, in this pattern of thinking. Okay. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with this unconscious tendency to expect things to happen right now, to expect like instant gratification, instant success, without, I know you know this, but it's something else to kind of take a step back and say, okay, this is where I was 6 months ago. This is where I am now. Sure, there's setbacks, you might take a step forward, a couple steps back, but overall, you're still headed in the right direction, right? The chart is still trending upward. And that's the important thing. Even though there are dips and there are peaks and valleys and all of this kind of stuff, you're still on the right path. You're still headed in the right direction. Now, we're moving over to the path of the Serpent now. And this is another card that I don't want you to worry too much about, but this is a 7 of discs. This is that general energy that you have that we were just talking about. This feeling like if I'm not successful now, if it hasn't happened already, it's not going to happen. This is that sense of pending doom, pending failure. I think that's on your mind. I think your general energy is feeling like you haven't succeeded yet, feeling like you've put in all of this work and commitment that we started with, right? But because there are some setbacks happening right now or this week, that it's just doomed. This whole endeavor is hopeless. And this card is really trying to make you aware of that state of your energy right now. You're in this kind of doom and gloom, this kind of pessimistic attitude. And I think, again, a lot of it has to do with these 8s that we see. It's just this thinking that keeps looping back on itself. You keep going over these same thoughts over and over and over again. And it's keeping you locked into this feeling of not succeeding, of failing, basically, right? I don't like that word, but essentially that's what we're talking about here. You have this sense of failure, despite the fact that this seems like it's a minor obstacle. It seems like it's a temporary setback, but you're locked into this thinking, okay? And what I see next is this 6 of Cups, and this is in the position of your relationships, how this situation is affecting your relationships. And I think this kind of thinking that you're in, this, this figure 8 kind of thinking where it's looping back in on itself, and you're stuck in this one moment of feeling unsuccessful, let's say. I think that state of mind is affecting your other relationships in quite a severe way. I think typically you have a lot of love and joy and harmony and peace, a lot of support, a lot of affection in your life from your loved ones, the people around you. But I think that this situation is kind of throwing this 6 of Cups out of whack. It's a little askew, right? I think we're losing a little bit of this harmony, a little bit of this security and affection from other people. And it could be that you're alienating yourself from others a little bit. You're withdrawing from your friends or your family a little bit because you're going through this, rather difficult situation that we're talking about. Even though it is temporary, it doesn't seem like it's all that severe. It feels severe. It feels like it's a big deal, and I think we can't dismiss that, right? We can't negate the fact that it feels like this major issue, okay? But I think the key here is to recognize that it is affecting how you're relating to other people in your life, right? And, there's really no advice here. There's really no, well, you should do this. No, this is just simply recognizing that this is going on, acknowledging that. And again, I think that the real key to this whole thing so far is this Knight of Wands. And this is saying, look, stop the thinking, stop the overanalyzing, stop the dwelling in this bad mood, and just take action. Just have a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, go out and do it stronger, harder, and faster than you have before, right? Just really put in the extra effort to get over this situation, get through this obstacle, and things will harmonize again. You'll hit that 2 of Cups. That was the potential outcome. I think that's where you're headed. And with that 2 of Cups, that can manifest and it can kind of diffuse into the 6 of Cups. The rest of your life, the rest of your relationships will harmonize and stabilize again. Things will settle, right? And now the next card is in the position of your fears, worries, concerns, what is going to be causing you some anxiety this week. And here we have a Prince of Discs. Now, I wonder if this isn't someone else involved in this situation. Could this be a peer, someone about your age, right, give or take? Someone who is either a very strong earth sign or someone who is really involved in the physical operation of this business, project, whatever it is that we're talking about. It could be someone who is literally down in the dirt, getting their hands dirty, doing the physical labor, doing the work, right? And this could be part of that obstacle. This could be part of what is kind of causing you this grief this week. Could be something to do with this person. Maybe this person is leaving. Maybe this person is starting to do things differently, or starting to do a poor job, or just make mistakes. Something with this person. Now, again, they're either an earth sign person, but I think more than that, there's somebody who is actually, just down in the trenches doing the dirty work of this thing. They're the ones that are really, putting things together and getting their hands dirty, okay? And I don't know what is changing with them, but whatever that issue is, whatever the shift is, whatever this obstacle is, involves this person. And I think that is what is causing this kind of grief this week, right? This feeling that things are not successful, that this is such an upset that how are you going to recover? How are you going to get back on track? Well, what we also see going on is this 10 of Wands, okay? And the 10 of Wands it comes after this Prince of Discs, okay? So I wonder if this might be part of the situation here. Maybe there's too much responsibility being placed on this Prince of Discs, or maybe they're placing too much responsibility on you. That could be It could be that alternate way. But there's something here with an overburdening of this energy, of responsibility. There's a lot of fatigue, a lot of just exhaustion and being physically drained, physically tired, but there's also that idea of too much responsibility or too much trust being placed here, and it has to do with this person. So I don't know, again, if they're the ones that are placing all this burden on you, or if you're relying on them too much, placing too much responsibility on this person. And that's part of what's going on. But there's something here with this Ten of Wands, and this is at the end of the path of the Serpent, so this is an important card. This is trying to point us to really what the solution is, or what the outcome should be here. And in some way it's related to this Ten of Wands, this oppressive, heavy, burdensome energy. It's either too much responsibility, too much trust being placed somewhere, and this is also a physical fatigue. It's probably both of these things. I think one kind of leads into the other. It's a feeling of being exhausted, being run down, having too much weight, too much responsibility, either on you or on this Prince of Discs, okay? And maybe you'll leave me some comments, let me know where some of this burden is falling. But I see that this is a major issue, and this is what needs to be addressed, right? So on the path of the Dove, we saw that it was a lot of kind of how you're approaching this situation, right? The way that you're experiencing it, with a lot of this, right? This figure eight, these thoughts that are just looping back in on themselves, and it could be related to this overburdening energy, this too much responsibility, or too much trust, or too much expectation, right? That is involving this Prince of Discs in some way. And I think this is what is going on in the situation. And everything we saw on the path of the Dove is kind of what you're experiencing more subjectively, based on the rest of this energy, based really on this Ten of Wands. I think this is a very important key to this whole situation this week, okay? Now, I think we should take a look at this mystery card, confirmation card. I can't imagine what really it's going to be. It's kind of, you know, I don't have much of a guess today. Usually I'm fairly good at predicting what this card may be, or at least in the general realm, the general suit, the general energy of this card. But today, I don't know, maybe a Four of Discs. Maybe we'll see some just kind of a stability, more kind of fair harmony. Maybe a Six of Discs would be even better, where there's a division of labor, where some of that oppressive energy is spread, some of that responsibility is spread around, right? There's more delegation, there's just more harmony, more peace. Everybody is a little less burdened, and there's more of a kind of a division of labor, right? That's in a more fair and balanced kind of way. But let's see. I don't know if that is what it is. Well, this is a good one. This is a Nine of Wands. So this is really taking some of that energy from this Ten of Wands, wherever I ended up putting that. So the Ten of Wands was really about this energy that was too much, too heavy. It was too much responsibility, too much trust, too much of a burden. It was just really oppressive, heavy energy, right? That was weighing you down, or the Prince of Discs, right? However this is flowing. And it was causing a lot of exhaustion, a lot of fatigue, a lot of like physical kind of tiredness, right? But now we see a Nine of Wands, and this card is strength. This is like a renewal of that very calm, assertive strength, right? This is a balance, excuse me, a balance of forces. This is a balance between the sun and the moon. So, you know, a balance between you and this other person. And I'm going to go ahead and say it's this Prince of Discs. So there has to be a balance here. There has to be, and this is kind of what I was talking about with the Six of Discs too. I was expecting that. More of a division of labor, more of a shared effort, more of a fair and kind of even and balanced effort, right? But we see this anyway in the Nine, in the Nine of Wands. And this is really a good confirmation because it takes some of this oppressive energy, some of this really heavy burden, really heavy responsibility, and it kind of spreads it out. It kind of makes it a little bit more even between the two of you, right? Between you and this Prince of Discs. So it is like more of a balance, right? And it is more of just kind of spreading out that heavy energy so that no one is being overburdened with it. So it's not so heavy on one person that they're just kind of being crushed by it, right? So I think this is a good confirmation telling us that it really is focused on this Ten of Wands that we saw. This is kind of the main thing that needs to be addressed is the sharing of the responsibility, kind of, right? Somebody's feeling overburdened and just weighed down by all of this responsibility. And true strength is going to come from knowing how to spread that around, knowing how to share that, knowing how to make it more even, more fair, and that way everybody is stronger and the whole effort, the whole company or wherever this is taking place can succeed. Because when one person has too much of the responsibility or too much, is pulling too much of the weight, that there's no way that they can sustain that. So it's about spreading out that effort, right? And that's where true strength comes from. And that's where the success of the situation is really going to come from, is from this Nine of Wands. Anyway, Aries, we're going to take a look a little bit more into this in the extended version. You can become a member to this channel by clicking on the link down in the description box. This was your weekly tarot forecast on Dove and Serpent Tarot. Thank you so much for letting me read for you today.